Before the white man came to Africa, the possession of supernatural powers was a normal thing celebrated by all African communities. And of all prophets in the continent at the time, only a few could rival Syokimau in her ability to prophesy future events. She was also one of the greatest traditional medicine women in Africa. Syokimau was born in Machakos, Kenya in the late 1700s. And just like her life and death, the details surrounding Syokimau's birth are nothing short of interesting. The Kamba knew nothing about her parents, siblings, clan, kinsmen, or even close relatives. In fact, they believed that she sprang out of a tree and was heaven sent. At a young age, Syokimau was attacked by a mystic force, explaining where her prophetic and healing abilities came from. And if someone sick was planning on visiting, a spirit would usually come to Syokimau in her dream, show her the person who is going to visit, then guide her to a tree she can use to heal what the visitor is ailing from. Her ability to see the future came in handy when neighboring communities, which are mainly Maasai and Kikuyu, were planning to attack the Kamba. This always gave the Kamba warriors sufficient time to prepare before going to war. For these reasons, everyone in the community loved and respected Syokimau, and even Matwangoma, who was the leader of the Kamba community at the time, would go to Syokimau for counsel whenever he was facing challenges ruling. Syokimau's power of prophecy would also show her if the Kamba were going to lose in the upcoming war. And whenever she saw they were going to lose, she would usually go into the wilderness and spend days praying for the warriors under an Ivembo, which acted as a shrine. While there, she would sacrifice a he-goat or a ram in an effort to appease the ancestors and the Kamba god, so all warriors could return from the war unharmed and victorious. Back in the day, victory meant securing all your enemies' cattle. That said, none of these predictions could match her three biggest prophecies that came to pass years after her death. One calm night after supper, Syokimau invited everyone in her village for a storytelling session. Regular storytelling was a normal thing in African communities because that's how every tribe passed down its culture and history from one generation to the next. After her audience had gathered around the fire, she sat on a three-legged stool and started narrating. According to legend, Syokimau had always been calm and thoughtful. But on this night, everyone could notice that something was different with her. Then all of a sudden, she screamed as if in pain, and before anyone in the audience could respond to her anguish, she started speaking as if in a trance. I see a long snake and it's coming our way. The snake will spit fire and smoke and will run from one outer body to another. The snake will crawl on two straight stones laid down by men and will carry people with skin that looks like white meat. Their words will be nonsensical like the language of the birds, and when these people arrive, they will be your greatest enemies. They will flog you mercilessly, take away your lands, force you to work on their farms, kill most of you, sleep with your wives, and take your husbands away. They will destroy your shrines and spread sin. Then they will abuse your god and force you to worship theirs. In their pockets, they will carry fire with them, and will even suck it using their mouths. Needless to say, everyone in the room was confused, but Syokimau was not done. I also see a generation coming. They will speak like weaver birds, claim to be wiser, and disobey their parents and elders. They won't be afraid to break traditions and engage in things we consider taboo. They will surprise all of you and even build houses on top of one another. When she was done saying all that, Syokimau fell asleep for a short while before waking up and sitting still as if nothing had happened. In the meantime, the villagers in the room were whispering among themselves, trying to understand what any of Syokimau's words meant. But she did not respond to any of them. And over the next couple of days, word about Syokimau's vision and warning made way around the entire community. As expected, most, if not all of the villagers believed her because she had never failed them before, but none of them could decipher what her vision meant, so within time, they pushed the information to the back of their minds and went on with their lives, which included trading with neighboring communities and migrating within Machakos, Kitui, and Makueni. Syokimau's prophecies started coming true in 1844, when Europeans led by John Ludendorff and Johannes Reban started exploring Kenya's interiors in an effort to spread Christianity. That was when the Kamba realized that the people Syokimau said had skin that looked like white meat were the white men. In 1888, Queen Victoria granted the British East African Company a charter that led to the colonization of present-day Kenya. And in order to control the Kenyans, the British took their lands and introduced forced labor. Worse yet, by the time Kenya gained independence in 1963, more than 500,000 Kenyans had either been killed or were missing, just like Syokimau had predicted. Fire in their pocket was matchboxes and fire in their mouths was cigarettes. The long snake that crawled on two straight stones and could spit fire was the Kenya-Uganda Railway that was constructed in 1896 and was responsible for spreading even more white people inland. It ran from the coast of Mombasa to Kisumu, a lakeside city then known as Port Florence. The weird generation Syokimau saw in a vision is our generation. We have, after all, broken traditions, we disrespect our parents and elders, and we engage in things that will be considered taboo back in the day. Apartments and skyscrapers are what Syokimau referred to when she was talking about houses being built on top of one another. Just like a birth in life, Syokimau's death was riddled with unexplainable occurrences. But for the Kamba people, this confirmed beyond a reasonable doubt that Syokimau was not an ordinary lady. One morning, the villagers of Machakos woke up to shocking news. Syokimau had died. Most of the villagers were afraid that their main protector was no more, but others were wondering why she was not able to prophesy about her own death, which would have given the village some time to adjust. But as per tradition, they laid her body in a hut for 2 days to confirm she was really dead, after which they performed the necessary rituals and disposed of her body in the forest. There were no burials back in those days. A few days later, the villagers heard a loud cry coming from the same forest they had thrown Syokimau's body. And when they went to investigate, they found Syokimau kneeling down, praying and shouting to the heavens. Needless to say, they were all frightened. But before they could scatter in fear, she cried out to them to notify them that it was really her. The villagers conquered their fear and went closer to confirm if it was really her. And after they did, they all rejoiced because their prophetess was alive and well again, and Syokimau accompanied them back to the village. According to legend, Syokimau lived for 2 more seasons, which is approximately 2 years, before dying and resurrecting again. A week after her body had been thrown into the forest, she appeared before young girls who had been sent to collect some firewood. She accompanied them back to the village, where the villagers were amazed and happy to see her, just like the first time. They gave her a calabash filled with porridge, and after drinking her fill, she told them some stories. But she never talked about her death experiences. And even though most of the villagers surrounding her had a lot of questions, none of them dared to ask. When evening came, she thanked and wished them well before leaving for her to get some sleep. The following morning, they found her dead, but for good this time. And unlike the other 2 times, this time she had died facing upwards and with her mouth open. The Kamba believed that this meant her soul had left her while she was speaking to the ancestors. 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗧𝗦𝗘, another prophetess from Athi River who came decades later after Syokimau's death, was so impressed by her accurate predictions that she decided to name a village in her territory after the mighty prophetess. The township is now located a few kilometers away from Nairobi. Soon, I will create a detailed video touching on the life of 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗧𝗦𝗘, so ensure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive the notification. The government of Kenya also named a train station after Syokimau, and inside the station, you will find this statue of Syokimau erected in all her greatness. Thank you for joining me today, and see you again next week.